Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I want to talk, I was going to title it Gold Standard in Government Control, based on a series of articles that Neil and Nobel wrote for the Prickly Pear. And they're long and excellent articles. I actually don't want to talk too much about the history of the gold standard, but I do want to start with this idea, which is a theme in the Trump administration has been not just cutting government spending, but reducing the power of the federal government in a way. And if money is power, the best way to reduce the government's power is to defund it. That seems obvious. And that's perhaps the primary agenda of Doge is to find ways to reduce government spending, because so much of it is wasteful. And I think the reason why my mind was on the gold standard was because it acted as an external restraining mechanism on the expansion of government. If government is expanding, it means that its spending is expanding. One means the other. And as Neil points out in his article, the push for the expansion of the government beyond, I think, any imaginable constitutional boundary. He says this at the end of the article. It's called The Revenge of the Gold Bugs, Part 1. So there are 3 parts. But he says this: they wanted to undermine the restrictive nature of the Constitution. That would be the whole idea of the living Constitution. So you turn the Constitution into a living document where you can basically get it to mean whatever you want by appealing to, like, emanations from penumbras, and suddenly there was the right to abortion and all of that. So that you undermine the restrictive nature of the Constitution with the living Constitution, at the same time undermining the mechanical constraints of the gold standard on the issuance of money. And that's really, really, really important, because the one of the worst aspects of the expansion of the federal government is federal spending. And what we now have in our country is this massive welfare state. We have entitlement programs that are running us into the ground financially. And part of the reason the government is able to spend so much is because it has no external restraint fiscally upon it. It can spend as much money as it says it wants to spend. The U.S. dollar doesn't have to be matched to any objective or real standard of value like gold. If you have to redeem the currency, if you have to be able to redeem the currency you issue in gold, you have to spend less, because eventually if you spend trillions upon trillions of dollars that you really don't have, that amount of money isn't going to be redeemable in gold. And so it prevents that. But one really, really important takeaway from all of this, and it's important because I know Trump, he calls it his big beautiful bill. We have a bill making its way through Congress, which I think actually I don't like it at all. I think it's very fiscally irresponsible. I think it increases the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. I think Neil pointed out that it's probably going to allow annual deficits of $3 trillion. We can't sustain that. And I know what the Trump strategy is. The Trump strategy is, because, for example, with this bill, the whole idea is that the House is looking to cut $1.5 trillion in spending and then offset the rest of the increases that it's going to allow itself. Offset the rest of that through deregulation, stimulating the economy. That's kind of the Trump approach, is you cut government funding where you can, where it's most egregious, but because there's just not the political will to reform these entitlement programs, it's considered too politically dangerous. Instead of making massive cuts to federal spending, which is really what we need to do, if you cut government spending here and there, and you deregulate enough, you have low taxes, you reinvigorate the manufacturing, then we can offset the cost of increasing deficits, right? And the idea is increasing revenue increasing revenue can service increasing debt. So as Neil said, we're going to grow our way out of this. I'm not sure that will work. But it's important to understand that without a gold standard, or without a similar external mechanism to restrain government fiscal irresponsibility, currency just represents, it's just as valuable. It's just as valuable as the fiscal responsibility of the government. So when you get rid of the gold standard, fiscal responsibility is the currency of the realm. Right? If I take out my wallet, and visual representations are always good, right? If I have cash, a dollar bill, this is just basically a way of measuring the fiscal responsibility of my government. The reason why this purchases a lot less than it used to is because our government has been correspondingly fiscally irresponsible. And so people don't think about it that way, but it's important to. If your currency isn't redeemable in something that's objectively valuable like gold, some external objectively valuable material like gold, all this is a way of measuring the fiscal irresponsibility of your government. And think about that next time you have cash in your hands. Your money buys less. Your money is less valuable precisely because your government is outrageously irresponsible. So I'll leave you with that. There are, of course, complications. The U.S. dollar is artificially strong. That has to do in part with our trade deficits. In part, it has to do with America's status as preeminent superpower in the 20th century. The fact that energy transactions are done in U.S. dollars, although that's changing a little bit. But again, I think a good way to think about a dollar bill, if it can't be redeemable in gold, the only thing it's redeemable in is trust in the government. That's it. The less trust the world has in the United States government, the less your dollar is worth. And the more irresponsible the government is, the less it's going to be trusted. So there's a direct correlation between your money being less valuable and your government being fiscally irresponsible. And that wouldn't be the case if we still had a gold standard. All right, thank you very much for watching.